Welcome to the September Developers Update, a series of blog posts where we discuss upcoming changes and features making their way to Dead by Daylight. Right, okay then folks, so here we go. Chapter 16 review. With the upcoming mid-chapter, we're kicking off a new initiative to review the previously released chapter, The Killer, Their Perks, and the Survivor Perks, and make any changes that are needed. The first to receive this treatment is the Silent Hill chapter. We feel that this is important to see how new content plays out in a real scenario before committing to balance changes. Sensible idea. Something that seems overpowered upon release could end up being a non-issue once people have had a chance to play against it and develop counterplay. Likewise, something that might seem underpowered might find a niche once people have had the time to experiment with new builds and playstyles. Other times, the playstyles that crop up over time can turn out to be frustrating or unfun to play against. With this in mind, we plan to review the previous chapter once it has had a few months to simmer and address any issues or imbalances that may have appeared. This period gives us a chance to monitor how the new content is used and get a better understanding of how it is used and how it can be abused before tweaking things. So this is obviously a good idea, right? Because whenever something new comes out in a game, straight away people form an opinion on it and say that it's either overpowered or it's not strong enough. But as they're saying here, once you spend time, playing against something new or playing with something new, you will learn it and understand it more, and you will learn how to play better with it and make it stronger, or you will learn how to play against it and counter it, and therefore, making it weaker. So makes sense what they're saying. So it looks like one of the first killers that's going to be getting this treatment is Pyramid Head, or the Executioner. Let's see what they're doing to him. So from watching Pyramid Head matches over the past few months, we have noticed that many people will opt to only use his Punishment of the Damned attack at pallets and windows, where the survivor is locked into the interaction and unable to attempt to dodge the attack. To address this and make gameplay more dynamic, we're making two changes. Okay, so if you're unsure, basically the attack that they're talking about is his ranged attack, where he can shoot out this like Trail of Torment type thing. I think it's called Punishment of the Damned, it's called, but it's like a trail along the ground. It's got quite a long range on it. You can increase it with add-ons. But it's very easy to dodge. So as Pyramid Head, what you tend to do is use it as survivors are going into windows or through doorways where they have very limited movement, and that way you're almost guaranteed to hit. But obviously it's kind of boring. So let's see what they're doing to change that. Increasing the delay after cancelling Rights of Judgment before Pyramid Head can attack. The reason for this change is to add a downside to cancelling your power at each pallet or window. Currently, the survivor is left with two choices: vault the window, drop the pallet, or get hit with the Punishment of the Damned, or continue running and get hit with a basic attack. By increasing the delay before you can do a basic attack after cancelling Rights of Judgment, the survivor gets a small window to avoid an attack, similar to the Huntress or the Demogorgon. Right, okay, so basically as you're playing with Pyramid Head, when you see that a survivor is going either up to a window, a vault, or they're coming into a pallet, if you hold down your power button and you get ready to fire your ranged attack, the Punishment of the Damned, they then have to make a decision. So what they're doing here is, by making it so that there's a delay from cancelling it, if the survivor does tend to go for the mind game, rather than going through the window, they maybe, fake the window or fake the doorway. Because the killer then, the Pyramid Head, has to cancel that attack, and they're adding in this new delay that gives that survivor a chance to get away, whereas at the moment there's no delay. So the survivor has two choices: one, go for the vault or the doorway and get hit by the Pyramid Head's attack, or two, fake the vault and or the doorway and go left or right instead, and the Pyramid Head at the moment can just cancel that attack instantly and hit them again. So it's not really a choice, it's just either get hit through the door or the window, or get hit by dodging it. So this will definitely make that fairer. Decreasing the delay after attacking with Punishment of the Damned. Missing an attack with Punishment of the Damned can feel very punishing. Oh, the irony. The cooldown after attacking is fairly long, which gives the survivor a lot of time to gain distance. By lowering the cooldown, you'll be able to use your power more liberally without having it backfire as hard as if you miss. The goal of these changes is to move Pyramid Head's gameplay in a more skilled based direction, which rewards aiming your attacks well rather than cancelling your power or using it only in situations where you're guaranteed a hit. We are not aiming to make the executioner stronger or weaker overall, but rather to address some of the frustrations of both sides. Okay, so that's balancing it out. So when you go to cancel your power as Pyramid Head, you're going to have a delay now, which is going to give survivors a chance to mind game at windows and vaults. But in order to counter that, you will also be able to use your power more often. So if you're able to aim and have better skill with aiming, then you're going to benefit. So it might feel like a nerf to begin with, but if you play with Pyramid Head more and you get better with using his ranged attack, I think you'll find that this at worst is balanced. At best it might even turn out to be a buff. So I think that's perfectly fine. So that's the killer changes. Now this is what I'm more interested in, to be honest, is the perk changes, because there are a lot of perks in DBD now, and yet people still tend to use similar ones, and I would say 80% of the perks hardly ever get used. So if they can change some of the less used perks to make them more viable and or more interesting and more fun, then that gives us more build options, which I think is great. So let's see. We are happy to see that some of the perks from chapter 16 have found their way into people's regular lineup and niche builds. However, there are 3 perks that we would like to revisit. These perks are Trail of the Torment. We erred on the side of caution when releasing this perk. If the killer is undetectable too often, it can be easily overwhelming and start to overshadow actual stealth based killers. After watching it play out, we are comfortable with giving Trail of the Torment a buff. The undetectable status effect will now remain active until the mark generator stops regressing or a survivor is put into the dying state by any means. This creates an interesting dynamic where the survivors need to stop the generator from regressing to remove the undetectable status effect. The killer can use this to ambush survivors or use it to sneak up on a survivor for an unexpected angle. So this sounds to me a little bit like it's going to have a similar effect to how Tinkerer is used now. It's going to give you that window of undetectability, where especially if you're using it with other perks, like, I mean, I'm just thinking at the moment, surveillance. So obviously you're undetectable until a survivor taps the generator and stops it regressing. But obviously as soon as they do that, if you're running surveillance, that will then light the generator up yellow and you'll know that they're on it. So I think that could be a positive change for the killer. We'll have to see how survivors counter that, but I think that's a fair change because that perk doesn't really get used at all at the moment. Right, Force Penance. Force Penance has some interesting applications, but the duration seems to be a little low to get much use out of the broken effect. We are increasing the duration of the broken effect by 20 seconds across all tiers. Okay, great. Still don't think anyone will use it, but better than nothing, right? Blood Pact. Blood Pact's haste effect is nice to have, but did not last long enough to see much use. We are scrapping the duration of the haste effect and instead making it last indefinitely until the 2 survivors are no longer within 16 meters of... Oh, now this could be dirty. So straight away, what comes to mind here is survive with friends. Because obviously, you know, you need to be within 16 meters of one another, which is going to be very difficult to do in solo play. But I'm just thinking, you know, with survive with friends, or if you're running, you know, certain perks with your team, like maybe bond or, you know, empathy, something that shows you where your teammates are. If you're very coordinated and very organized, so basically it sounds like it's going to make the people that are already really good better, and probably not do anything for the people that are at the lower end of the game. So that could be a perk to keep an eye on. I'm not sure about this one. That sounds like it's just going to make the better people better and do nothing for the you know, not so good people. We'll have to see. Right, miscellaneous perk changes. So these are the ones that I'm also very interested in. On the subject of perks, we have also prepared a package of perks updates for this mid-chapter. Like the perks mentioned above, we will go through and give a short explanation of each. Right, any means necessary. So this is the one where you can reset the palette. But right, reduce the cooldown to 60 seconds. I think it's 120 seconds at the moment, and added a score event for resetting the pallet. Okay, so you'll get blood points for doing it now, and 60 seconds. I mean, you know, that probably means that it might be a viable perk in certain situations. I still think it will be a perk that most people run for memes and for certain particular situations. I don't think it's going to be a meta perk, but 60 seconds is a lot better than 120. It certainly now, you know, has possible uses, I guess, other than memes. This is another perk that we've aired on the side of caution when releasing. Resetting pallets can be a game changer, and we wanted to make sure that it would not get out of hand. On review, we're comfortable with decreasing the cooldown. Yeah, so this is the other thing. Like, there are certain things like resetting pallets that it could really very easily break the game if they. I mean, you imagine if you were able to do that every like 20 seconds. So I understand why the developers were cautious with that. That's fair enough. 60 seconds probably sounds about right to me. Crawl limits radius is increased to 32 meters. There were concerns with crawl limits being overbearing when the perk first launched, but it turned out to be a non-issue. We are increasing the range from 32 meters up from 24. Okay, I guess I still think that that's not actually going to make a difference in regards to people choosing it. I don't think anyone's going to go, oh, I'm going to use crawl limits now because its range is now 32 meters instead of 24 meters. I think you're going to use it if it's a perk that you like or have a certain need for, and the extra range is just going to make it that little bit better. I don't think it's going to make anyone use it that isn't already planning to use it. So a small change. I guess it's good, not game changing by any means. For the people, added a score event for using for the people. Okay, more blood points. Survivors definitely do need to earn more blood points. There's one thing that I will say is Killer definitely does earn a lot more blood points than Survivors, so I guess that's good. Mindbreaker. Increased duration of the exhausted effect. The exhausted effect from Mindbreaker often ended up being too short to make much use out of it. We're increasing the duration by a few seconds across the board. Okay. Again, I don't think that's going to change much, to be honest with you. Okay, this could be an interesting one. So, slippery meat. Removed bear trap escape chance and added an increased chance to self-unhook. Right. So let's have a look. So slippery meat has found its way into some niche builds, but it is one of the few perks from back in the day that affects one killer more than others, increasing your odds of escaping from bear traps. This is something we moved away from recently, so we'll be removing the increased bear trap escape chance from this perk. Okay, well that's fair, right? Because it does. It kind of screws poor Trapper over, and it's not like he's one of the strongest killers, so I think that's good. But obviously it needs to do something, so what have they buffed it with? To better play into niche playstyle, slippery meat will now increase your chance to self-unhook, in addition to giving you more self-unhook attempts. Okay, so if I'm reading that right, it sounds like what that's going to do is, at the moment you've got, I think it's 3 attempts to unhook yourself, and each attempt has a 4% chance of getting you off the hook. So I'm assuming, again, they don't give numbers, but I'm assuming that's going to go from 3 to maybe 4 or 5 attempts, and it's probably going to up your chance on each attempt from 4% to, who knows, 5, 6, 7, 8%, whatever. Whenever they give us the numbers, we'll know. But again, I don't think that's going to become a meta perk, far from it, but it's definitely better. And like they're saying, I think it will find themselves, it's a perk that will find itself put into certain niche builds. Again, Survive with Friends kind of comes into mind there, but yeah, good change. Thanatophobia. Okay, this is an interesting change. So they've removed the hill speed penalty and increased the penalty on other actions. Again, they're not giving us any exact numbers here, it looks like. So at the moment, Thanatophobia is meant to encourage the survivors to heal in order to avoid the penalty from the perk. However, it currently reduces healing speed as well, creating a lose-lose situation no matter what the survivors do. This prevents us from making the perk stronger, as it would quickly get overbearing. To address this, we are removing the reduced healing speed from the perk, but increasing the action speed penalty to compensate. Right, okay, so this sounds like it could actually be really good. So what they're saying is, because it slows down healing speed, as a survivor, you're kind of reluctant to heal, because it does make healing take, you know, certainly noticeably longer, but it doesn't really take it doesn't really make generators take much time. I think it's like 4% for each injured survivor, so it's really not a lot. So you're kind of, a survivor, just better off staying on generators and just not even bother healing, depending on, you know, the situation and the killer you're going against. Now this could actually be a really nice buff for killer, because although it sounds good that it's removing the heal speed penalty, as a killer I find that I'm quite happy for survivors to be healing, because if a survivor is healing, they're not on a generator. So that's got a passive slowdown to generators just by encouraging survivors to heal. And then on top of that, if they're going to buff the other action speed penalty, so basically slowing down generators, like I said, it's currently 4% per injured survivor. Depends on what they buff that to. If they buff it to 5-6%, not going to make a lot of difference, but if they buff it to 8 or 10% per survivor, that would become, could become a meta perk. So we'll have to see what the numbers are on that. We're going to live forever, we're going to farm forever. Added new ways to get tokens, added increased healing speed when healing a dying survivor. We're going to live forever is often seen as the survivor equivalent to barbecue and chili, but lacking a secondary like the latter's aura revealing. It can also cause survivors to compete for unhooks, leading to people rushing in for the hook saves before it's even safe to do so. By adding additional ways to get tokens, we hope to reduce the competition between survivors. The secondary effect gives the perk more use within the trial. So this, I think, is a really good change, because there are so many things that you need to unlock perk wise in DBD now that I'm just, all I need is blood points all the time. So I run barbecue and chili on all my killers, not because it's the best perk to run on every killer, but just because the benefits of the blood point gain. And you do also you know, get a perk from it in game as well. It does reveal the survivor's auras when you hook someone, as long as they're not in a locker and at least 40 meters away. So this will give survivors something similar, because we're going to live forever as the survivor barbecue and chili, but like they're saying here, it doesn't give you any in-game bonus. It just gives you the extra blood points, and the only way that you can get your tokens, you need obviously 4 for 25%, 4 is 100% the maximum. The only way you can get it is by a safe unhook, and all you get is survivors, like they're saying there, just going in. You know, amount of times I've tried to go and save one of my teammates, and even though I think I'm getting there quick, someone else is like sweeping in front of me just to get the save. So this will be a really good change, because if they're going to give you other ways to earn tokens, it means you're not going to be competing for the save. Maybe there's going to be a thing where you'll get a token for every totem you cleanse, or for each generator you complete, or I don't know, maybe for every health state you heal, something like that. So that'll be really good. And if they're also adding in the effect where you heal faster on on survivors that are in the dying state, that'll be really good as well, because it gives you another perk that you can use in game. Again, they don't tell us how much faster, but it's better than what it is now. So I like that. That's a nice change. Right, let's have a look. Technician. Increase the chance to prevent an explosion to 100%. Okay. Added an increased penalty to miss skill checks. Technician is designed as a perk to help newer players and those who struggle with skill checks. Me for sure. There is, however, a random aspect to it as to whether or not the generator explosion will be prevented. To make it more consistent and play more into the learning tool aspect, we are changing the perk to always prevent the explosion, but adding a small penalty to progress for missed skill checks. Okay, so when you miss a skill check, you won't get an explosion, but it will add a small penalty for to the progress. So if you're on a generator, you miss a skill check, it won't explode alerting the killer, but it will take a bit of your progress back off. So, you know, again, far from a meta perk, but for new players coming into the game, that's going to be, especially, or anyone that even struggles with skill checks, that's going to be a very handy perk for you to run until you get a bit more comfortable with them. Ooh, Pop Goes the Weasel, one of the big killer perks. What are they doing with this? Decrease the time the perk stays activated to 45 seconds. Originally, Pop Goes the Weasel had a 30-second cooldown, which felt too short to get much use out of it. We later increased this to 60 seconds. This felt much better to use, but it wound up being a little too lenient and allowed killers to find and kick a generator at their leisure, often after chasing and downing a different survivor. Okay, to add some urgency back into the perk, we are splitting the difference and changing the time to 45 seconds at tier 3. This way you'll have enough time to get the generator you want to kick, but you'll want to kick the generator before committing to a chase with another survivor. Okay, so I know for a fact that when I was leveling up killers, this was a perk that I always wanted to get, and when I had rank 1, I did definitely find situations where I think it was 30 seconds was the timer on rank 1, and that wasn't enough. Sometimes I couldn't get to the generator, especially if you're playing on a big map, Mother's Dwelling or something like that. You can't always get to the generator that you want to kick in 30 seconds. It's just not possible. 60 seconds definitely is more than enough. As killer, you often will hook a survivor and you'll have your Pop Goes the Weasel, but you've got a minute on it, and rather than kick a generator, you'll go and get another survivor and you'll get them down, and then you'll leave them down because you won't want to waste your pop. So you'll go and kick a generator, come back, pick that second survivor up, hook them, get another pop, and so 45 seconds, I can see the logic behind that. I'm sure there'll be a lot of killers out there that won't be too happy with it, but I don't think it's much of a nerf. I really don't. I think it's just a gameplay. It's going to make gameplay feel a lot more better. I don't think it's much of a nerf. Right. Perk rarity simplification. Okay. Keeping with the theme of perks, a small change, but a noteworthy one nonetheless. All perks will now share the same rarities based on their tiers. Currently, tier 3 perks can either be rare or very rare. This can make it difficult to find the perk you're looking for, since the perk list is sorted not just alphabetically but also divided across 2 different rarities. Going forward, perk rarity will match the tier of the perk. 1 uncommon, 2 rare, 3 very rare. Okay. This makes it easy to find the perks you're looking for in your perk list. Also makes it easier to tell what tier perk is at a glance. This is obviously a nice quality of life improvement. It's definitely going to make it easier to find your perks, because once you've got like rank 3, they'll all be the same. They'll all be very rare, and then you can just go through and look for your perk, knowing that they're all together but in alphabetical order. Now, I did actually come up with an idea. I don't know if anyone else has already come up with this, but something that I think would be a great addition for quality of life with perks, now that there's so many of them in Dead by Daylight behavior, if you're listening, why not give us some way of having custom loadouts, whether it's 3 or 5, whatever, just so that we can save our top 3 or top 5 most used loadouts and quickly switch to them, because they're like in like a favorites list thing for killers and survivors. Sure, that's something that wouldn't be too complicated to implement into UI, and I think that would be, because most of us do, we only have like 3-4 builds that we use most of the time, and then we switch out maybe the odd perk here or there if we want to just try something, or if we need a certain perk for a challenge. But generally we're only going to be running a few different builds. So if we could just have those saved as a favorite loadout so that we can quickly switch between them, I think that would be a great thing. You could add that into the game. Let me know what you think, guys, in the comments below on that. I'm quite fond of that idea. Graphics update, Macmillan Estate. Last but not least, we recently showed off some concept art for the next realm to receive a graphic update. Here they are once more in case you missed them. Okay, looks cool. Very nice. Yeah. So these graphic updates, nobody's gonna complain about a game getting a graphic update, right? However, one thing that I will say so far in my experience of these graphic updates is that there's definitely been a noticeable drop in FPS. I'll give you a classic example everyone's complaining about at the moment. As Killer, when you quickly break a pallet, like with Bubba's chainsaw, for instance, I get like 5 FPS. Now I've got a brand new computer, you know, with like a 2080 graphics card, and I'm only playing on low graphics. And I still get like 5 FPS sometimes when I'm quickly breaking a pallet, or even when I'm slowly breaking a pallet, it's not much better. So I don't know what's going on there, because that has to be game side, because my computer should be more than capable of handling that. So the graphics are nice. I'm glad they're doing it, but personally for me, I would rather have the old graphics and keep my solid frame rate than have these new graphics and drop down to 5 FPS in certain situations. But if they can get these new graphics and keep the FPS, that would be great. So I'm sure that's something they'll fix over time. This concludes the September edition of the developer update. All of the changes mentioned above will be available for testing in the player test build on Steam starting Tuesday, September the 29th. We look forward to seeing what you think once you've had a chance to try everything out. The Dead by Daylight team. Okay. So that's the developers update. Lots of stuff to think about there. I think a lot of positive changes. I think that's going to be really interesting. I'm very interested in trying out some of these new perk changes. But yeah, all in all, I think that's really good. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this developers update that I've kind of broken down, guys, please give this video a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to build my YouTube channel up a little bit, so I would appreciate the support on that one. And also let me know what you think about these changes and whether you think they're going to have a positive or negative effect overall. Let me know what you think in the comments below. You can find me streaming live over on twitch.tv/BigSteveGamingUK, and you can follow me on social media. All the links are in the description below. It's just Big Steve Gaming on all social media. Thanks ever so much for checking this out, and I will see you guys really soon.